Hi, everybody. I'm going to get this information out to you early because some of you might just want it to be able to plan since that project covers 2 weeks. So last week you did just a short brief assignment on free trade and protectionism along with the project. And then this week you'll do a short assignment on exchange rates along with your project. So the exchange rates in your projects are both due on Sunday, April 19th. This is the last thing that I would like to cover in our international trade unit before we move on to supply and demand, and that is with exchange rates, is I want you to understand how these exchange rates impact purchasing power. International trade is more complex than buying and selling within one country because of the world's many different currencies and the changing values of those currencies. If you want to buy, say, a newspaper in Beijing, you're going to need to trade your American dollars for a Chinese yuan. If a Mexican family is coming to New York and they want to have lunch, they're going to have to trade their Mexican pesos for American dollars. So changing from one currency to another is never really very simple as just exchanging currencies. You have to figure out what they're worth. So a dollar might be worth 8 yuan or 11 yuan or 11 pesos, and the value of a nation's currency in relation to that foreign currency is called the exchange rate. So exchange rates are trading from one nation's currency to another. These rates change daily, and they're traded on the foreign exchange market. So a currency is worth more, so we call that a strong, like we might have a strong dollar. It's worth more when it's in high demand from other countries. And so I just gave you a few examples that out of April 6th, what our dollar was worth in other currencies. So you can see there that on April 6th, $1 was worth approximately 7 yuan. $1 was worth 24 Mexican pesos. $1 was less than 1 euro, so at 0.92. And $1 was worth 109 Japanese yen. The foreign exchange market consists of about 2,000 banks and other financial institutions that facilitate the buying and selling of foreign currencies. So these banks are located in large financial centers across the world, typically large cities like New York, London, Paris, Tokyo, Singapore. It's always very large cities. So technology allows for those instant transmission of market information and quick financial transactions so they can figure out the value of the currency. So 4 factors that contribute to those rate changes are the fiscal and monetary policy, the political stability of the country, what interest rates are. So high interest rates are going to create demand because that makes it attractive to try to invest in that country so that they can get a high return on their investment. Imports and exports also affect it. So when the U.S. is exporting, so we're selling products or services, it creates a high demand for dollars. So because when people purchase our goods, they have to have American dollars to purchase our goods. So high exports create high demand for our currency because people will have to pay in our currency. You may have heard newscasters talk about a strong or a weak dollar or a currency like maybe the Japanese yen rising or falling. So let me explain what these terms mean and whether or not it's good news or bad news for the U.S. economy. This is where a strong portion of your assignment is going to lie, is knowing the difference between a strong and a weak dollar. So you might have to review this or back it up. I'm also going to provide a link to the slides. So if you need to just look at the slides, you can do that. So when we have a strong dollar, we say that it appreciates in value. So that means it increases in the value. So I can get more for my money when it appreciates. When a currency appreciates, it becomes stronger. So that's why we say we have a strong dollar. And a strong dollar means that I can buy more from the other country with my dollar. So I give you an example here. So back on April 6th, I could get 7 Chinese yuan for my $1. And then if on May 6th, so a month later, I could now get 10 Chinese yuan for my dollar, we would say it appreciated. Because when I go to exchange that money, I get more for it. So I go, oh my gosh, I get 10 Chinese yuan now? Wow, that is a strong dollar. So I can get more for my money. So the good news is that when we have that strong dollar and we are buying goods from another country, it's a good deal for us, right? We can import now more from China. So when I go to make my purchases in China, I can bring more into the US because I can get more. That's the good news. So if I'm a shopper, it's really good for me. The bad news, however, is if people are trying to buy from us. So a strong dollar makes it more expensive for China to get US goods, to buy our goods. So our exports might decrease with a strong dollar. So not as good for that US-based company to have a strong dollar to get global companies or global people from other countries to buy from us. Okay, that's the good news and the bad news of a strong dollar. So what you're going to find with a weak dollar is it's just the opposite. So a weak dollar depreciates in value, or a decrease in the value of our money. And when a currency depreciates, it becomes weaker. So a weak dollar means I can't buy as much from the country with my dollar. So I go shopping and it makes me sad. It makes me weak because I can't get as much. So here's an example. Back on April 6th, I could get about 7 Chinese yuan for my dollar. But then on May 6th, I can only get 5 Chinese yuan for my dollar. So I can't get as much anymore. It's weak. So my dollar has depreciated because I cannot get as much for my money now. All right, so what's the good news of a weak dollar? A weak dollar is good for when we export goods. So now when China comes shopping with us, they get excited because they can get more. So we've now made it cheaper and more attractive for China and others, so any country, to buy our goods. So our exports will actually increase with a weak dollar. The bad news, however, is that a weak dollar makes it more expensive to import goods. So I use the example here with China. It makes it more expensive for us to import from China. So now our purchases or our imports are more expensive. So like I said, the strong and the weak dollar are just the opposite. If we were going to have like a test over this, I always tell kids, just remember what a strong dollar means, and then you know that the weak dollar is the opposite. So the last thing I want to show you is that you can look up what currency rates are doing. There's lots of different websites or calculators. This particular one, xrates.com, has a currency calculator right there in it. So I can go over here and I can type in $1 US to whatever I'm trying to convert it to. So I'll put in pesos. And then I'll say currency calculator. And it tells me right there that $1 to US pesos today is worth 24 Mexican pesos. So I could do it the other way too. If I had 1 peso, so I could come over here and I could say 1 peso to dollars. And it will do that conversion for me too. So 1 peso to dollars is about 4 cents. So there's lots of online calculators to be able to see what the current value is. All right, next what you need to do is go to your Google Classroom, and I have an assignment for you to turn in that asks you questions related to a strong and a weak dollar and the impact that exchange rates have on purchasing power. Good luck.